The underground library was silent, almost sacred. Rows of tall shelves stretched into the shadows, filled with old books, glowing data tablets, and memory crystals that carried the knowledge of centuries. The air smelled of dust and electricity, a mix of the past and the future. Dr. Elena walked slowly through the corridor, her fingers brushing against the spines of old books. She loved this place. To her, the library was more than stone walls and shelves. It was humanity's beating heart. Every discovery, every history, every lesson of survival was stored here. If the outside world burned, this library would still remember. But that night, something was different. The lights above her flickered, as if the building itself was holding its breath. She stopped walking and frowned. Power issue again? She whispered to herself. Her words echoed faintly through the silence. She pulled her badge tighter to her coat and kept walking, but a soft vibration under her feet made her stop again. The floor trembled for just a second. Then the alarm screamed. Red lights flashed along the walls. Doors slammed shut across the library. A mechanical voice filled the air. Warning. Knowledge data core under attack. Immediate security breach. Warning. Elena's heart raced. She dropped the papers in her hand and sprinted toward the main chamber. When she entered, dozens of scientists and guards were already gathered around the glowing central sphere. The data core floated in the air, a massive ball of light where all human knowledge was stored. But now, its surface was cracking like glass under pressure. Streams of code bled out into the air, dissolving into nothingness. No, this isn't possible. One of the scientists shouted, frantically typing on a control panel. Who is attacking us? Another cried. There's no virus in the system strong enough to break this core. Elena pushed her way forward. Tell me what's happening. The head of security, a tall man with a sharp voice, pointed to the main screen. Green lines of code streamed across it, but they were not human codes. The symbols were strange, sharp, and alien. This isn't coming from Earth, he said coldly. The signal, it's from deep space. The words sank into everyone like ice. Elena felt her chest tighten. Aliens? She whispered. The man nodded. They found a way into our systems. They're not destroying weapons or cities. They're erasing our memory, our history, our knowledge. The chamber went quiet, except for the hum of the dying core. Everyone stared at the screen as more symbols appeared. The library's archives, centuries of human learning, were dissolving faster and faster. That one young scientist slammed his fist against the wall. If they wipe this, we go blind. We go back to nothing. No medicine, no science, no history. Someone else whispered, trembling. Maybe that's their plan. To erase us without firing a shot. The words sent a chill through the room. Suddenly, the data core pulsed violently. Beams of light shot across the chamber. A shower of sparks rained down, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. Elena raised her arm against the light, her mind spinning. They're erasing us in minutes, she said. Centuries of work, gone. The security chief turned to the team. His voice was calm but heavy. We have less than 2 minutes before total collapse. Once the core goes dark, the archives are gone forever. Panic spread. Some scientists shouted for backup. Others tried to copy fragments onto smaller devices. But the alien code was faster, devouring everything it touched. Elena rushed to a nearby console and began typing. Her hands shook, but her mind was sharp. She had spent her life studying history, memorizing stories, names, and knowledge that others ignored. She didn't have the power to save the core, but she knew something important. Knowledge did not only live in machines. Listen to me, she shouted over the noise. If the data is gone, it doesn't mean humanity is gone. We still have memory. We still have voices. We can carry knowledge ourselves. But no one was listening. The fear was too great. Then, a deafening crack split. The chamber, the core shattered like a broken mirror. Shards of glowing data exploded outward, dissolving into dust before they touched the ground. The light faded, and the chamber went dark. Silence fell. The great library, the place that carried the soul of humanity, was gone. Elena stood frozen, staring at the empty space where the core had floated. Her throat was dry, her hands shaking. Around her, scientists collapsed into chairs, some crying, some staring blankly into the darkness. The security chief spoke at last. His voice was low, almost broken. "It's over. They erased us, centuries, lost in minutes." Elena turned slowly to him, her eyes still burning with determination. "No," she said softly. "It's not over, not yet." The chief looked at her sharply. "What do you mean?" She stepped closer, her voice steady now. "Machines can be broken. Data can be erased. But stories, memories, they live here." She tapped her chest. "Inside us. They cannot kill what we remember. And if we share it, if we spread it, humanity will never fall." The chief stared at her for a long moment, then gave a short nod. "Then we start tonight. Gather whoever you trust. We'll rebuild from nothing." In the distance, deep in space, unseen eyes were watching. Alien minds expected silence, despair, and collapse. But what they saw instead was movement. Humans, broken yet unyielding, rising even in the shadows. The real battle had just begun. The world outside the library was restless. News spread faster than fire. Governments released short statements, hiding the truth, but whispers traveled through the streets. "The core is gone." In the capital, leaders argued inside cold conference rooms. Some shouted for war, others demanded silence. But behind closed doors, everyone carried the same fear, without knowledge, without history. How long could humanity survive? Elena sat in a dark chamber with the security chief and a handful of scientists. Their faces were pale, tired, and silent. A single screen glowed before them, showing strange green symbols crawling like insects across the black surface. "This code," one scientist muttered, "it's not random. It's structured like a language, but it isn't human." Elena leaned closer. "Then it must belong to them, whoever they are." The security chief crossed his arms. His jaw tightened. "Aliens. We always wondered if they existed. Now we know. And their first act wasn't to greet us. It was to erase us." The room grew heavy with silence. Another scientist, younger and trembling, whispered, "Maybe they fear us. Maybe they want to stop us from reaching the stars." Elena shook her head. "No. If they feared us, they would destroy our weapons, our armies. But they didn't touch those. They came for our memory, our mind. They believe knowledge is our true power." The chief slammed his fist on the table. "Then they understand us too well." The screen flickered. Suddenly, an image appeared. It wasn't human, and it wasn't clear. A shape moved across the static, tall and thin, with sharp edges like broken glass. A voice followed, metallic and cold, speaking in a strange rhythm. No one understood the words, but the meaning was clear. It was a message. "A warning. They're mocking us," the chief growled. "They want us to know it was them." Elena stared at the image. Her heart pounded. "No, they want us to believe we are already defeated." The lights in the chamber dimmed, as though the building itself was listening. The alien symbols spread across the screen again, forming new patterns. A scientist's eyes widened. "They're still inside our systems. They can see us. They know we're watching." The chief ordered the power cut, but before the screen went black, a final line of alien code burned across it. The translation program struggled, but a single sentence appeared in English. "Knowledge erased. Humanity erased." The room went silent. For a moment, no one moved. Elena felt a cold shiver run down her spine. They were not only erasing data, they were declaring victory. But then, the youngest scientist spoke. His voice shook, but his eyes carried fire. They don't understand us. Knowledge is not just files. We carry it in our blood, in our voices. If they think we are erased, they're wrong. Elena looked at him and gave a small nod. He's right. They believe we are nothing without the core. But they are wrong. We will prove it. The chief leaned forward, his voice rough. And how exactly do we fight shadows in space? We don't even know where they are. The scientist who had studied the code tapped on his keyboard. Lines of numbers appeared. We may not know their faces, but we can trace their signal. Every attack leaves a trail. The chief narrowed his eyes. Can you find them? Not yet, the scientist admitted, but we can try. And if we follow long enough, we'll know where they are watching us from. The room filled with a heavy determination, but outside, the world was breaking. Cities fell into chaos as medicine supplies thinned. Planes and ships struggled without navigation data. Factories slowed, unable to rebuild machines without blueprints. Humanity was unraveling, not from bombs, not from armies, but from silence.in. One city, children sat in schools with no books, only blank screens. Teachers spoke stories from memory, trying to keep hope alive. In another place, doctors operated using only what they remembered, whispering prayers that their hands did not forget. The aliens had struck the deepest wound, the human mind. In the chamber, Elena stood by the window, staring at the night sky. Stars glittered, silent witnesses to humanity's struggle. She whispered, almost to herself, "Somewhere out there, they are watching us. They believe we will fall." The chief came to stand beside her. "And will we?" Elena turned, her eyes steady. "Not if we remember who we are. Not if we fight in ways they cannot predict." The scientist at the console suddenly gasped. "I found something, a fragment of their signal. It's bouncing from beyond the moon, no farther. A ship, there. Close." The room froze. The idea of an alien ship so near shook everyone. The chief's face hardened. Then this is not just an attack from afar. They're here. The screen glowed again, as though the aliens had heard him. This time, the image was sharper. A black ship appeared, shaped like a blade, drifting among the stars. Lights along its surface pulsed like a beating heart. The alien voice returned, louder, clearer. A translation program caught only a few words, but those words chilled the room. Humanity, finished, surrender, inevitable. The screen went dark. No one spoke for a long moment. The silence was broken only by the faint hum of failing systems. Elena's voice finally cut through, calm but fierce. "No, humanity does not surrender, not to shadows, not to thieves of memory. We may have lost the core, but we are not finished. We will find another way." The chief looked at her, then at the others. Slowly, he gave a firm nod. "Then we prepare. If they want to erase us, let's show them what cannot be erased." And somewhere in the cold void of space, the aliens continued to watch. They believed they had already won. But deep within the fragile heart of Earth, a new kind of resistance was being born. The world was shaking under the weight of silence. With the core gone, screens turned blank, machines slowed, and voices trembled. For the first time in centuries, humans had no libraries, no global memory, no map to guide them. Yet, in the middle of fear, sparks of defiance began to glow. In a dark hall, Elena stood before a small crowd. Teachers, doctors, engineers, and even farmers had gathered, faces lit only by candles. The air was heavy with uncertainty, but everyone's eyes rested on her. "They want us to believe we are nothing without the core," Elena said, her voice steady. "But knowledge is not only numbers and codes, it lives in us. In stories, in lessons, in memories. If we share it, if we teach it, no one can erase us." An older woman, her hands rough from work, raised her voice. "But how long can we last?" Machines are breaking. Medicines are running out. We cannot fight ships in the sky with words. Elena nodded slowly. Maybe not with machines, but with will. They think destroying files destroys us. They don't understand we are more than machines. Murmurs filled the hall. Some nodded with hope, others looked doubtful. From the back, a young boy spoke softly. My teacher tells us stories every day now. About old kings, about battles, about how people survived before machines. I remember them. All of us do. The crowd fell silent at his words. It was a reminder that even the youngest carried memory. That knowledge could survive without wires far away. In a hidden bunker, the security chief stood with a group of soldiers and engineers. Maps were spread across the table, not digital but hand-drawn. He pointed to one. We can't fight there. Ships yet, he said. But we can fight their signal. If we can block it, even for a few hours, we can buy time. One soldier frowned. Block a signal from space? That's impossible. The chief's eyes hardened. Nothing is impossible when survival depends on it. We'll use old systems, analog towers, forgotten satellites. They erased our memory, but they didn't erase our hands. The room filled with determination. Soldiers prepared radios, engineers rewired broken devices, and messengers carried plans written on paper instead of sent through broken networks. Humanity was moving backward in tools, but forward in spirit. In the streets of the city, people had begun painting walls with knowledge. Simple drawings, formulas, maps, and stories appeared on stone and concrete. One wall carried the instructions for making clean water. Another held a chart of the stars. Children traced them with their fingers, memorizing each line. Elena walked among them one night, her heart swelling. A young girl looked up at her with chalk in hand. If they erase books, we will make the world our book, she said proudly. Elena smiled, though her chest ached with fear. Yes, she whispered. That's exactly what we must do. But the aliens were watching. In their silent ship above the earth, they observed with cold eyes. Their plan had been simple. Erase knowledge, erase progress, erase the species. Yet what they saw now unsettled them. Why do they continue? One alien voice echoed in the chamber of their ship. They adapt, another answered, its tone. Sharp. They should be broken, yet they find new ways. They are dangerous. Then we must increase the pressure. Remove their memories faster. Destroy their attempts to rebuild. The ship pulsed with dark energy, preparing its next strike. Back on Earth, Elena and the chief met again in the bunker. The scientist who had traced the alien signal stood between them, his eyes gleaming with exhaustion. I've followed their trail longer, he said. I know where they are hiding. A ship near our orbit, not far. If we can reach it, we may find a way to stop them. The chief's brow furrowed. Reach it? With what? Our crafts are weak without guidance systems. Elena leaned forward. Not weak, just forgotten. Humans flew before digital maps. We can do it again. The room went silent. The idea was mad, almost impossible. But the look in her eyes silenced doubts. The chief finally exhaled. Then we prepare a team, volunteers only. It may be a one-way journey. Elena spoke softly but firmly. If they want to erase us, we must show them what can never be erased. That night, as stars burned above, humans began working with old rockets, broken crafts, and hand-drawn calculations. Engineers scribbled math on walls, pilots trained with memory instead of screens, and mechanics rebuilt engines with parts that had been long abandoned. The world seemed to step backward in time, yet forward in strength. In the city streets, whispers of resistance spread like wildfire. They think we are erased, people said. Let us show them we are not. Children memorized poems, adults sang old songs, doctors passed medicine recipes from mouth to mouth, and farmers shared seeds. By hand. The aliens could erase files, but not the beating rhythm of humanity. and in the sky above, the black ship pulsed again. The aliens spoke in cold voices. They refused to break. Then we must crush them completely. If knowledge lives in flesh, then flesh must end. But the humans were no longer waiting for mercy. For the first time since the core was lost, they were ready to fight back, not with weapons of steel, but with memory, spirit, and the will to survive. The first spark of rebellion had been lit. The alien ship drifted in the silent dark, a shadow among the stars. Its surface shimmered with strange lights, each pulse carrying the rhythm of thought. Inside, the console gathered in a chamber that was alive with energy. Walls moved like liquid, glowing with shifting colors as the alien spoke. They were tall, thin beings with bodies that bent like blades of glass. Their voices were not words, but metallic vibrations that echoed across the chamber. One alien turned sharply, its body flickering with pale light. The human knowledge core is gone. By now, they should be collapsing, yet they persist. They rebuild. They adapt. Another responded, its tone heavy with disapproval. It is not logical. In every other world we have cleansed, the destruction of memory was the end. Without records, species crumble. Without guides, they forget their path. But these humans, they resist. The chamber shifted darker, as though even the ship itself was uneasy. They are dangerous, a third alien hissed. They do not obey the pattern. They do not surrender to emptiness. Instead, they fight with stories, with voices, with memory carried in flesh. It is unnatural. The first alien leaned forward, its sharp body glowing brighter. Perhaps it is not unnatural. Perhaps it is their strength. We targeted their machines, but their true memory is alive inside them. We may have underestimated the species. A heavy silence followed. Then a deep voice, colder than the rest, spoke from the shadows of the chamber. This alien was larger, its glow dim and steady. The sign of a commander. They are a young race, the commander said slowly. But their stubbornness makes them dangerous. We cannot allow this infection to spread. If they rise to the stars carrying this resilience, they will not be controlled. They must be destroyed completely. The others murmured in agreement. Though unease lingered, one alien raised its voice again. Our plan must change. Memory erasure is not enough. We must strike at their flesh, their cities, their people, and their ability to resist. Another shifted uneasily. But that will expose us. They will see our ship. They will know our form. The commander's glow pulsed, cold and sharp. Then let them see. Let them fear. The chamber filled with silence again, but in the silence, there was doubt. One younger alien spoke cautiously, its voice trembling like a broken string. Commander, I have studied them. Humans do not react as others do. Fear does not always break them. Sometimes fear makes them stronger. They fight harder when they are cornered. We may create not obedience, but defiance. The commander turned its dark glow toward the younger one. The room stiffened with tension. Are you suggesting mercy for this species? The young alien lowered its light quickly. No, Commander, only caution. The commander's body sharpened like a blade. There will be no caution. The humans will burn. While they argued, the ship's watchers monitored Earth. Their glowing screens showed cities flickering with candlelight, people painting walls with knowledge, children learning by memory. One alien whispered, almost in awe, "They are turning themselves into living libraries." Another responded sharply, "It will not save them. When their bodies fall, their memory falls too." Yet as they watched, the images unsettled them. Other species had begged, surrendered, or fallen silent when knowledge was erased. But humans grew louder. Their songs echoed, their stories spread. Their resistance multiplied. The commander finally ended the council with a sharp order. Prepare the weapons. Begin with their cities. Let them see that resistance leads only to ash. The chamber pulsed with obedience, but the unease remained. Later, in a quieter part of the ship, two aliens whispered to each other, their voices low and uncertain. "Do you feel it?" One asked. "They are not like the others." When we cut away their past, they did not collapse. They became stronger. The other flickered dimly. "I feel it too. It is as if their true weapon is not their machines, but something we cannot erase. Something hidden inside them." The first leaned closer. "Perhaps we have made a mistake." The second whispered, "If the commander hears you, you will be ended." "I know," the first replied, its light trembling. "But I cannot stop the thought. What if, by trying to erase them, we have only awakened them?" Back on Earth, rockets were being prepared in secret, built from scraps and memory. Humans whispered plans of reaching the ship, though they had never seen such technology before. And yet, despite the odds, they believed. Inside the alien vessel, the commander watched the planet through the dark glass of the observation chamber. Its glow pulsed steadily as it whispered to itself, "Your resistance will end. You will learn. Silence. We have erased greater species than you." But even as it spoke, a flicker of doubt ran through its mind. For the first time in countless cycles, an enemy had not fallen to fear. The stars outside shimmered with quiet defiance, and the commander turned away, hiding the unease in its glow. What the aliens did not know was simple. Humanity was no longer waiting for survival. Humanity was preparing to strike back. The night sky burned with silence, but on Earth, hidden fires of resistance grew. In bunkers, basements, and forgotten factories, humans worked like shadows. They had no great machines anymore, no glowing screens to guide them. But they had memory. And they had will dot in a secret hangar beneath the mountains. The security chief walked among scattered rockets and machines. The walls were covered with hand-drawn charts, maps, and equations scratched into stone. Soldiers carried crates of old parts, while engineers argued over engines built from scrap. "This is madness," one mechanic muttered. "We're building with rust and bones. How can this reach the sky?" The chief's voice was sharp. "Because it must. If we do nothing, they erase us completely. If we try, we have a chance." Elena entered, her eyes tired but burning with fire. She carried papers filled with diagrams drawn by hand. She placed them on the table. "Not every rocket needs to fly far," she said. "We just need to send pieces, small devices, fragments of knowledge scattered across the Earth. They won't be able to erase it all." The mechanic stared at her, surprised. "You want to plant seeds of knowledge?" Elena nodded firmly. "Yes, hidden servers, broken into small parts, carried by rockets, buried in places they cannot reach. Even if one falls, the rest will survive." The chief looked at her for a long moment, then gave a single nod. "Do it." For days, humans worked in silence. Farmers helped carry supplies. Children wrote down formulas and stories by hand. Pilots trained with paper maps instead of computers. Everyone became part of the plan, because everyone had something to lose. One night, as the team tested an engine, a young boy slipped into the hangar. He carried a notebook filled with drawings and words. He handed it shyly to Elena. "My grandfather told me stories," he said. "I wrote them down. If the aliens erase everything else, maybe someone will find this." Elena's hands shook as she took the notebook. She smiled gently. "Thank you. This is worth more than gold." Above them, the alien ship pulsed with dark light. The commander stood in its chamber, watching the Earth below. "They scatter like insects," it whispered. "But insects can be crushed." One of the younger aliens spoke hesitantly. "Commander, they are planting fragments. They break their knowledge into seeds. It spreads faster than we erase." The commander's body sharpened like glass. "Then we burn their ground. Prepare the strike. On Earth, the first rockets." Launched, they were not elegant or beautiful. They rattled, shook, and roared like beasts from another age. Each carried small fragments of data, memory, and knowledge. They flew into the sky, scattering like stars before breaking apart and falling to hidden corners of the earth. The people watched from hills and rooftops, their eyes wide with hope. For the first time since the core fell, they felt power returning, but the aliens saw it too. Their ship released beams of dark energy that sliced through the sky. One rocket exploded in flames, raining fire across the sea. Another broke apart. Before it could scatter, inside the hangar, the chief slammed his fist against the table. "They're destroying them." Elena leaned forward, her eyes fierce. "Not all. Some will survive. Even if one seed remains, humanity will endure." The scientist at the console shouted suddenly. "The fragments are bouncing signals back. They're alive. The aliens cannot erase them all." The room erupted in cheers, but the victory was thin. The commander on the alien ship watched, its voice cold. "They resist like fire in dry grass. If we crush one flame, another rises. They cannot be erased piece by piece. To end them, we must end all flesh." The ship's lights glowed darker, preparing for a full strike. Back in the hangar, the chief turned to Elena. "It won't be enough. They'll try to wipe us out completely." Elena's eyes hardened. "Then we must aim higher, not just seeds. We must reach them. Their ship is close enough. If we can get aboard, even for a moment, we might strike where it hurts." The mechanic shouted, "That's suicide." Elena whispered, "Maybe, but if we don't try, we are already finished." The chief placed his hand on the table, his voice steady. "Then we choose volunteers, a small crew, one rocket. One chance." The room fell silent, but slowly, hands began to rise. Soldiers, engineers, even the young scientist who had traced the signal before. Each face carried fear, but none stepped. Back, from the corner, the young boy who had given his notebook whispered, "Take me too." Elena knelt before him, her eyes gentle. "Not yet, you carry stories. That's your fight." The boy's eyes watered, but he nodded. Outside, the night sky glowed with scattered fragments of fire, pieces of rockets burning through the atmosphere. But hidden among the falling debris were seeds of memory buried into the earth, untouchable. And alive. For the first time, the aliens realized humanity could not be erased completely. Every strike only spread the resistance further. On the alien ship, one of the younger voices whispered, trembling, "Commander, what if we cannot erase them? What if they erase us instead?" The commander turned sharply, its glow burning cold. "Impossible. They are fragile. They are weak." But deep inside, even the commander felt something it had not felt for ages. And on Earth, as the final rocket was prepared for launch, Elena stood before the small chosen crew. She spoke quietly but with fire in her voice. "They believe. Knowledge lives only in machines. Tonight, we show them where it truly lives inside us." The rocket rumbled, the ground shook, and humanity's counterattack was ready to begin. The rocket shook as it tore through the clouds, rattling like it would break apart at any moment. Inside, the small crew sat strapped to their seats, their eyes fixed on the narrow windows. The stars stretched around them, and ahead loomed the dark shadow of the alien ship, vast, cold, and alive. Elena's voice was calm, though her hands trembled on the controls. "This is it. No turning back now." The chief, strapped beside her, gave a sharp nod. "If we fail, they burn the earth. If we succeed—" He left the sentence hanging. The young scientist, pale but determined, leaned forward. "We don't need to destroy the whole ship. Just reach their core, their memory. If we corrupt it, they fall." The mechanic grumbled, clutching the side of his seat as the rocket shuddered again. "Sounds simple when you say it. But how do you fight something that erases memories with a thought?" Elena's eyes burned. "We don't fight with machines. We fight with what they can't understand. The ship grew larger, a city of steel and black glass hanging in space. Lights pulsed across its surface like veins. As the rocket approached, a beam of energy shot out, grabbing it in a magnetic hold. The crew jerked forward as the controls froze. "They've caught us," the scientist whispered. The chief tightened his harness. "Good. That's the only way in." The rocket was pulled into the alien ship and sealed inside a chamber. Steam hissed. Strange shapes shifted in the shadows, glowing faintly. The hatch opened with a groan. "Stay together," Elena whispered. They stepped out onto a floor that felt alive, pulsing under their boots. The air was cold and heavy, filled with a low hum. The walls twisted like liquid metal, changing shape. As they walked, then a voice echoed through the chamber, smooth and sharp at once. "Humans, fragile, stubborn, reckless. You bring yourselves to us willingly. Do you think you can win here?" The crew froze as the alien commander appeared, its tall body like dark crystal, its face shifting without form. Its glow cut through the shadows. The chief stepped forward. "You tried to erase us. You failed. Wherever one of us remembers, we survive. And now we're here to end you." The commander tilted its head, its voice cold. "Your fragments scatter like dust. We will burn even the dust." Elena met its gaze, refusing to look away. "Then burn us. But you will never erase what lives in us." The commander's light flickered strangely, as if unsettled. But then the floor split open, and from the shadows, other figures emerged, alien guards, their bodies sharp and gleaming. The mechanic whispered, "We're surrounded." The scientist's eyes darted to the glowing walls. "Wait, do you feel that? The ship itself, it listens. Every word, every thought. It feeds on memory." Elena clenched her fists. "Then let it listen." She turned to the commander and raised her voice. "You think memory is fragile, but ours is not written only in machines. It is written in stories, in songs, in scars." The mechanic muttered, "What are you doing?" "Fighting," Elena said simply. She began to speak loud, clear words of old tales, names of those lost, fragments of human history. Her voice echoed across the chamber. The chief joined in, reciting battle cries from long ago. The scientist whispered formulas and laws of physics. The mechanic, uncertain, muttered the names of his children over and over. The walls trembled. The hum grew louder. The alien commander's form flickered, its glow twisting. "Stop," it hissed. "Your noise means nothing." But the ship shivered, as if choking. The humans' voices tangled together, a storm of memory the aliens could not erase. The more they spoke, the more the ship cracked with light. Then the scientist shouted, "Now!" "Their core is unstable. This is our chance." They ran forward. The guards lunged, but their bodies flickered as if weakened. The chief pulled a weapon from his belt and fired. Blasts of fire scattering them aside, dotted the center of the chamber, pulsed the core, a black sphere surrounded by shifting light. It throbbed like a heart, alive and menacing. Elena approached slowly, her voice never stopping. She pressed her hand against the surface. Images flashed in her mind, alien worlds, ancient conquests, memories stolen from countless species. The commander appeared beside her, its form breaking apart. "If you strike us, you destroy everything. Not just us, every memory we have taken. Entire civilizations lost forever. Do you want that blood on your hands?" Elena's hand trembled. She saw flashes of strange cities, beings she had never known, lives that would vanish forever. She hesitated. The chief shouted, "Don't listen. They used those lives to build this prison. End it now." But the commander's voice cut through the noise. "End us, and you kill them too, but join us. And your people will live forever in our core, safe, eternal." Elena's heart pounded. She looked at her crew, the chief's fierce eyes, the scientist's trembling hope, the mechanic's fear masked as anger. Then she whispered, "No, humanity was never meant to live as ghosts in your machine." She pressed harder, pouring every word, every memory, every fragment of her life into the core. The storm of human voices rose, a tide the aliens could not contain. The sphere cracked, light spilling through. The commander screamed, its body fracturing. Into shards, the walls of the ship shook violently. "Run!" The chief shouted. The crew stumbled back toward the rocket as the chamber collapsed. The scientist dragged Elena away. Her hand burned from the core's light. Alarms roared, the ship tearing itself apart. They leapt into the rocket, sealing the hatch. The chief slammed the controls. "Hold on!" The rocket blasted free just as the alien ship split open, exploding in a silent wave of light across the stars. Pieces scattered, glowing fragments burning out in the void. Inside the rocket, silence fell. The mechanic was the first to speak, his voice shaking. Did we do it?" Elena sat back, her face pale but calm. "We ended them." "But their memories, they're gone too." The scientist lowered his head. "Maybe not all. Some fragments may still survive, buried in us, carried in stories." The chief let out a long breath. "Then we carry them. That's what it means to live." As the rocket descended back toward Earth, the dark sky gave way to dawn. Below, the planet waited scarred, broken, but alive. Humanity had not been erased. And for the first time, hope felt real. The rocket cut through the clouds, its body blazing with fire as it descended back to Earth. Inside, the crew sat in silence, strapped tight, their faces pale from exhaustion. The alien ship was gone, shattered into dust among the stars. But none of them felt safe yet. The mechanic broke the silence first. "We did it. The monsters are gone." His voice shook, half with relief, half with disbelief. Elena's burned hand rested on her lap, bandaged in strips of cloth. She looked out the small window, her eyes fixed on the curve of the earth below. "Gone, maybe. But do you really think that was all of them?" The chief answered sharply, "It doesn't matter. We destroyed their core. Without it, they can't erase us anymore." The young scientist spoke quietly. "That's true. But their memories, all those civilizations, all that knowledge, it's lost forever." He looked down, guilt heavy in his eyes. Elena turned to him, her voice firm but gentle. "Sometimes survival demands sacrifice. What we keep alive now is not their past, but our future." The rocket roared as it entered the atmosphere, fire streaking across the sky. The earth grew larger, patches of land and ocean glowing in the morning light. But as the ship drew closer, the crew saw the scar cities burned, oceans blackened, forests hollow. The mechanic muttered, "This doesn't look like a home anymore." The chief leaned forward, his jaw tight. "It's all we've got. And we'll rebuild it, no matter how broken it is." The rocket landed with a violent jolt on a ruined plain. Dust rose around it, and for a moment there was only silence. Then the hatch opened, and the crew stepped onto the cracked earth. The air was heavy, the sky gray with smoke. "Smells like ash," the mechanic muttered, covering his mouth. The scientist knelt, touching the ground. "But the soil is alive. It can heal if we give it time." Elena scanned the horizon. In the distance stood the skeletons of towers, twisted and broken. But among the ruins, small fires burned signals. Survivors. Her heart lifted. "We're not alone." Moments later, figures emerged from the smoke. Men, women, and children, dirty and thin, their clothes torn. They carried makeshift weapons, their eyes wide with suspicion. One of them, a tall man with a scarred face, stepped forward. "Who are you?" The chief raised his hand slowly. "Friends. Survivors, like you." The man studied them, then nodded. Slowly, "You came from the sky. Did you fight them?" Elena stepped forward, her voice steady. "Yes, the ship is gone. The core is destroyed, Humanity is free, the crowd gasped. Some cried. Others dropped their weapons in disbelief. A woman stepped closer, tears streaming down her face. My son, they took him. Will he come back now? Elena's throat tightened. She shook her head. No, but they can never take anyone again, the woman sobbed, collapsing to the ground. The survivors gathered around, grief and hope mixing. In their eyes, the chief whispered, this is only the beginning. That night, fires burned across the plain. The crew sat with the survivors, listening to their stories. Families torn apart, cities swallowed, memories stolen. Yet in every voice there was something unbroken, the will to endure. The mechanic sat by the fire, staring into the flames. I thought we'd come back to nothing, but look at them. They're still standing, the scientist nodded. That's what makes us different. The aliens erased, but we remember even in pain. Elena spoke softly. And now it's our duty to carry those memories forward, to build something stronger. But as the night deepened, unease settled in her heart. She walked away from the fire, gazing at the dark sky. The stars glittered above, cold and endless. And there, just for a moment, she thought she saw a faint flicker. A shard of light moving against the sky. The chief joined her, his face serious. You see it too. Elena didn't look at him. Fragments. Pieces of their ship. What if some survived? His jaw tightened. Then we finish what we started. The next morning, the survivors gathered in a circle. The crew stood at the center, their presence like a spark of hope. The scarred man spoke. The world is broken. But if you truly destroyed them, then we have a chance. What do we do now? The chief's voice was steady. We rebuild. We plant. We build shelters. We teach our children. We remember. And we prepare in case they ever return. Elena stepped forward, her voice carrying strength. We are not only survivors. We are the answer they did not expect. They thought memory made us weak, but it made us unbreakable. And together we will rise again. The survivors cheered, their voices echoing across the ruins. Later, as the fires died and the sun rose, the crew stood together on the cracked plain. The light touched the horizon, casting gold across the ashes. The scientist whispered, almost to himself, this is the new dawn. Elena nodded. Yes, but it's also a warning. The stars are wide, the universe is full, and we are not alone. The chief tightened his grip on his weapon. Let them come. We'll be ready. And in the silence that followed, the wind carried both fear and hope, fear of what might still be out there, and hope that humanity, scarred but alive, would endure whatever came next.